Now, everything in Java is part of a hierarchy. And that opens the question, well, what is at the very top of the hierarchy? And at the top of the hierarchy, there is a class called object. This is the mother of all classes. So let's see what that means. It means that this is a class that's defined right in java.lang, that is in the package that contains the language itself. It's one of the very basics, the very basic class that you can have in Java. And everything is derived from the object class, which means that all the classes you have written so far are really children of objects, whether you knew it or not. Actually, I'll give you some hints how you could tell that this was the case. So, if you do not explicitly create a class that extends another, it is assumed that your class, it is the child of the object class. So that's why we call it the ultimate root of all classes, class hierarchies, and we call it the mother of all classes. So what does it mean that this class object exists? It means that several methods that are useful in many different classes exist in this object class. So if you do not define it, your program will not crash. For example, if you try to print an object that you have instantiated from a class you have written, and let's say in your class definition, you never put a toString method, well, your program will actually print something. And what it will print is what the object class asks it to print. Since your class did not have a toString method, and you try to print an object that was created by your class, the message print will actually be given to the parent class, which is object, which will call its own toString method. What is it going to print? It's going to print the memory location that holds the object that you have created. So you're not going to get something meaningful, except that it's going to be a hexadecimal number that denotes the memory location that your object is in. So when you write your own toString method, you're actually overwriting the definition of object. There are other methods inside this object class that accidentally or intentionally we have used. One is the method equals. And the method equals returns true if and only if the two objects you are comparing are actually pointing to the same memory location. That's what the object class can do. So if you want to check if two things are equal, it will just check to see if they are actually references to the same memory location. That's why, for example, you will get false if you create two strings that they seem identical to you. You create, a string containing the characters hi, and another one contains also the characters hi. But if you try to see if one is equal to the other, you will be told no, unless you assign one variable of your string to another, in which case they will be pointing to the same memory location. If you don't understand exactly what I mean, maybe you want to ask it and we can discuss it in class. There is another method which is called clone, and the object will just return another reference to the same memory location. Both equals and clone are usually methods you want to override in your class definitions. So object will kind of remind you that these are the methods that you actually want to override. Otherwise, your program is not going to crash, but it's not going to give you something particularly useful.